Okay, this is an excellent point. When using the move tool, it's really truly always best to pre-select. I would even go so far to say that the select tool, me personally, I think the select tool and the navigation tools are the most underrated tools in SketchUp. If you think about it, the select tool sets up just about every command, and the navigation tools literally set up every single command. You're panning, you're zooming, you're orbiting. So, with the scroll wheel, you can orbit around and pan and get to that view that's strategic for what you're working on. The other underrated tool is a select tool. The reason it's important is because if you go to your move tool, all right, and let's just say I hover on an entity, you can see that it auto selects, but sometimes it's kind of hard to get it to auto select, especially if you've got two pieces right together. So now it's how do I get this guy to select? I can't do it, right? So what I need to do is activate my select tool and pre-select. Then I can go to my move tool, and then I can do a precise move and stack these blocks any way I like. Cool? All right, now another tip regarding the select tool and pre-selecting entities before you move them. I had made a comment that the move tool is the #1 destroyer of models. The reason for that is that if you're not familiar with how to make a selection in SketchUp, you can really mess things up with the move tool. Let me show you what that looks like. I'm just going to add a little bit more detail to the back of this shape. So we'll just draw something up like this and pull this out, and I'll just throw some detail back here, whatever looks good. All right. Okay, so we've got some stuff going on back there. And let's say that I decide I want to move, I don't know, I'm going to make this a little bit easier on myself. Let's say I want to move. Using my select tool, I'm going to pre-select this piece right here. Okay? So I just draw a selection around there, and I select that rectangle. And then I'm going to move it. All right? But let me orbit around. Let's see if oh, look at that. Just blown out because I actually selected all of this stuff back here. So keep in mind that when you select with the select tool, all right, so when I draw a selection window like that, at first glance I think, oh, I only selected this rectangle. But if I orbit around, you can see that I've also selected all of these edges. So all of those edges are going to move too, and that gets back to that stickiness of geometry that can really make a mess, right? So when I move that, it kind of blows everything out over here. So when I was first learning SketchUp, that was one of the most frustrating things to me, was how on earth did my model get destroyed when I was just working on it? And it didn't click with me right away. And then, it's that's where people say, well, SketchUp's glitchy, it doesn't work right, the stickiness of geometry, they're not understanding it. They don't understand how to make the program work right. So if you take the time to learn it, I think you'll find that not only is it pretty spectacular, but it really helps you move very quickly. So let me just make a comment about how to make this selection in a better way. So this would be a good quick tutorial on the select tool. The select tool, when you're setting up a selection, #1, you can right click to clear your selection. That's like a deselect all if you right click in the white space. If I do a single click, I can select an edge or a surface. If I double click, I can select a surface as well as its bounding edges. And if I triple click, I can select all connected geometry. All right, so then I can right click to clear my selection. If I draw a window from left to right, you can see that my selection window is solid. That's going to select only those entities that are 100% inside that selection window, like that. But see that when I did that, there's other entities back here that are inside of that selection window. So you got to beware. All right, if I go from right to left, notice that that selection window is dashed. So this is going to select any entity that's 100% inside of that selection window, as well as anything that that selection window touches. So see how it grabbed all those surfaces this time. So you can use a combination of these. Like if you only wanted to select like everything but these, I might hold Shift, and that's going to invert my selection. So see, Shift will invert any selection like that. So really, the safe way to make this selection here without grabbing all that stuff in the back is to, number one, right-click in the white space, use your Select tool and double-click, and then use your Move tool, and now you can move this thing without messing up anything behind the model. So, good point from Katya that you want to pre-select using the Select tool whenever you use the Move tool. Always ideal.